Hello, everyone. It's so awesome to be here at Twin Talk, another episode coming to you. And I'm super excited about our guest today. So, here's a little bit of a background. I tried to compress it. It's very difficult to compress so much experience and so much knowledge in in such few words. So let me do my best. Okay, and if I don't do a great job, then I will allow him to introduce himself the rest of the way. But today, I have with me Michael Glavich. Michael is a growth leader in the artificial intelligence space. He also has a background in IoT, AR, VR, blockchain, smart contracts, digital twins. So I wore this t-shirt for you today, Michael. What is a digital twin? We'll get into that.
All right.
Quantum computing, cognitive infrastructures, smart cities. He currently serves as head of growth at AI 2030, which I'm so excited to hear about. He's the head of growth for many tech companies. He has a massive background and experience. His resume is very powerful. And it would have been a shame to be a CEO in the digital twin space for myself if I didn't know somebody like Michael and have direct contact with someone like him with the experience that he has. I also want to mention a little bit about what Michael actually embodies. He has innovation in his blood. He's a strategic thinker. He's an entrepreneur and a skilled communicator. And you're gonna notice the way that he communicates. It resonates very strongly with entrepreneurs, especially because he has a very strong background in journalism. And his career over the past several decades, it's led him, to different doors, and we're gonna go through all of that. But that's enough of me trying to do my best to introduce Michael. But without further ado, I'd like to welcome Michael Glavich. Welcome, Michael.
Well, well, thank you so much. I think that's the best introduction I've ever had.
Listen, I was so excited for this. Look, a the minute that we connected and the minute that we talked, I knew right away. I'm like, as someone who, when I did my MBA, it was a decade ago. We were told that communication is everything. You can have the greatest product in the world. If you cannot communicate your value proposition, then good luck.
Yeah,
It's going to be a tough road ahead.
I
So
feel that way. I feel that way too. It's communication, it's networking, it's having a feeling for other people. You have to really like other people. You have to understand what it is that they want, and you have to. My mantra is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And if you come up with that kind of way of looking at things, you'll never run into problems. Because if you didn't want them to do that to you, you wouldn't do that to them. And
you're
that's
100%
really
right.
what it goes.
Especially with I recently just celebrated a milestone birthday, and I'm starting to look at things much more differently.
Mhm.
I feel like for the first 4 decades of my life, I was just learning. I never really thought about reflecting as much as I am now, and I feel like a lot of the focus in our journey in life is on achieving or milestones, but are we looking back at certain milestones? Are we giving back? Sometimes we're just in a hurry to get from point A to point B to point C. How about we sometimes take a breath and reflect on the journey too? Because A, you'll be able to celebrate your success, and B, you'll be able to take lessons from it and give it to the next generation that really needs it.
Yeah, I agree completely with that. And I would add enjoying people, understanding with who they are, taking the time to understand what they know. I think the success that I've had in being able to open doors for organizations and things like that has all been about just listening to them, just figuring out what it is that they want, what they value, how they want to think about things, and then being part of that. Some people have called me a chameleon in that I'm so good at just listening to people and thinking about what it is they want to do. But it's just about enjoying people. and listening to what they have to say. And
Absolutely.
yeah, that's where I go.
When before we get into your career, um, were you always like a listener and a critical thinker, or did this happen over time?
I think I came that way in a very early age. My parents were in the military, and every 2.5 years we would move to a different part of the world. So I would go from China to, Okinawa to Spain to France to wherever. And in essence, what that forces you to do is to make friends very quickly, think about who they are and what they are, and then and a year later, 2 years later, they're gone and you never see them again.
Yeah.
There's only been one time in my life where I've come back and I've seen somebody that I knew from some strange country somewhere, and all of a sudden I looked at them and they were older and much different, and I was like, I know who you are. And it was an extraordinary moment in my life. So I've always been this way. I've always been that kind of communicator and networker and reaching out to people and going, listen, tell me who you are. Tell me what you want. Tell me what's good for you.
Do you feel that you express yourself in that way because you're driven or passionate about exploring new horizons?
I think that's a big part of it too. Like I said to you earlier when we first met, that I really live at the edge of new. I really am always looking at what's the new thing that's happening. Why is that going that way? How does this new thing connect to the next piece? And how does that next piece then create this evolution of where we're going to go? We had an earlier conversation that we said that we think the world is going to a really extraordinary place. I absolutely believe that. I think AI, which is one of the reasons I got involved with AI and responsible AI, is going to really change the world. Everybody is saying that, but I think it's going to change in unique sorts of ways. There are things that are going to happen that we don't even realize are going to happen, and they're going to happen much sooner than we thought that they were going to do, and they're going to change everything. But that's just the way I think.
So what do you feel are some of those pivotal moments that are about to happen in human evolution when it comes to AI?
Well, okay. Again, let me go back just a second. So remember, blockchain was the media darling like 10 years ago, and I worked
Hmm.
with on Tapscott for about a decade or so, on and off. And it was a really interesting technology. It was all about data, but the part of it was then they went through crypto, and that sort of changed everything and slowed it down. And then COVID was a problem, and then AI came back, and that was the new technology, and everybody was going, "Oh, this is really cool." And of course, all the pundits started going, "This is something that's going to do a lot of things, etc." But responsible AI is the elephant in the room. Responsible AI will start bringing a humanity to the technology, because it'll start the technology itself will start interacting with people in ways that we've never seen before, and that interaction by itself is going to make people think about the technology not as just some tool that they're using it, but as something that actually interacts with their lives. And with that kind of feeling, that's the things that are going to make a more rapid feeling that people can start doing things with it, they can start playing with it, they can start experimenting with it, and they'll want to learn it just that much more quickly. So I think that's what responsible AI is going to bring to the table.
There was a document that was leaked through one of the CEOs, I believe it was from AWS. He was talking about how because of AI, there might be a decrease or a complete, um, obliteration of coding. What are your thoughts on that?
Um, so everybody starts to think when the new technology comes in, they're going to say, look at all these things are not going to happen anymore. The old ways of doing things are going to go away, et cetera, et cetera. I don't believe anything. I think that what they'll do is that the old things will evolve in a different sort of way, and we'll start doing things in a different sort of way. But don't think about it as things are old or things are new. It's an evolution. And
Yep.
and responsible AI will take that evolution to a much higher level than we've ever had before. And then the next evolution after that, which we'll talk about when we get to that point, is going to make things even more interesting for us.
Understood. So before we get into what you're currently doing with AI, with 2030 around the corner. Let's talk about where your career began, Michael, so we have a better understanding of the trajectory of how you got here and where you feel things are about to go. So we understand that your career began with your early experiences at Index and Concourse,
Right.
and would love to hear more about that, how that played a pivotal role early on in your young career.
Well, so Index and Concourse was an organization of thought leaders, some of the brilliant minds, the Jim Champions of the world and the Clayton Christensens of the world. When I first met Clayton Christensen, I had never seen a human being who was that intelligent and that nice at the same time. And I came to find out that that doesn't always happen. The really brilliant people have difficulty connecting to other people. But Clayton Christian was a different sort of human being, and it's been my pleasure to have met with a number of those. So working with those thought leaders gave me a different view. I've always been a communicator, but at this point in time, I had to really stop and listen to what they were trying to say. And when I got what they were trying to say, it connected me to other things. If you could look inside my head, you would see where all my brain cells connect to each other and then connect outside of me to other people. And that's how I think, and that's how I reach out to others. So it was that thought leadership sort of area. It was my ability to start thinking in terms of, all right, if this is what we're doing right now, and if we take these technologies and the knowledge that we're building, where do we take that into the next step? Where does that go next? And I began to train myself, and the thought leaders around me, spent time with me to help train me to get to that level and to that point. And that's how my career started. And from there, I began working with thought leaders through the rest of my career, even to this day.
So so then you had leadership positions mostly in strategy and growth. There was a pivotal moment where you took on entrepreneurial. You took that big turn that a lot of people are afraid to take, and you became an entrepreneur. Can you tell us more about what that was like? What was there fear, or was there total optimism, and what did you end up achieving?
I've always sort of thrown myself at things, even when I had no idea what I was doing. Uh, I've done some work with some startups, and one of them was in the quantum area, where right in the middle of COVID, this Quantum Materials Corporation started up a way of creating quantum dots to use in figuring out to put into vaccines and to those kinds of areas, to figure out whether you had COVID or not, whether what level of COVID you had, and what sort of drugs you should be able to take to assault the COVID at a more rapid rate. And I began to look at those types of things and said to myself, okay, well, that's really interesting. That's taking a technology which in quantum materials, which we begin to think of it as a very tiny sort, and begin to use it in a vastly different sort of way. So that's the way we want to look at technology. We want to say this is what it can do, but if you look at that technology and begin pulling it apart and seeing what else it can do, and that I think that's where AI is going to be its most powerful. You're going to be able to see that AI will be in every part of every organization and every segment of every organization. You take a retailer organization. They're going to use AI for supply chain, but they're also going to look at it inside their organization, so that the operations and the human resources and the sales and the strategy and the products that they're going to use, they're going to be starting to use AI in all of those different elements. And we're going to start seeing that when we have a new technology, people will look at it as, okay, it's for this, but it's also can do all of these other things. All of those other things will get us into that next evolution of what we're calling cognitive infrastructures, which is how you're going to be looking at all the different technologies that can pull together and create networks and new ways of thinking.
Absolutely. So is this where you started actually figuring out how you can, there could be distributed ledger technologies coming to play, like blockchain and AI? when you were at QMC?
Um, actually, when I was with QMC, I was so focused on what quantum materials was and what it could do. And when they started talking about quantum dots and using it for the COVID vaccines,
Yeah,
I, I just put my heads down and I went, okay, I really need to focus on this because people are dying out there.
yeah,
So when that begins to happen, you become very serious and very focused.
yeah.
So I kind of really began to look in the wider versions when I began looking at some of the innovative types of organizations that I was working with and some of the different technologies. Blockchain was very interesting. It started off as a data organization, but then all of a sudden it became the base technology for where smart cities was going. And that became very interesting. And where was that going to go? And then blockchain became the core technology for cryptocurrencies.
Yep.
And cryptocurrencies has been, really interesting as to what that's going to do. And everybody's saying, well, when is the United States going to be doing cryptocurrencies? And the idea is probably never, because the U.S. dollar is accepted around the world, and the U.S. government's not going to want to create a cryptocurrency because they have the U.S. dollar.
Absolutely. It's kind of like
Yeah,
you,
do I really want to go there?
yeah,
Why? Why would I do that?
yeah. Where do you push and where do you pull? Completely understand. Before I forget,
Yes.
guys, everybody watching, you may feel or notice that he sounds like he has some really good experience speaking, in front of the screen. Why don't you tell us, Michael, about your career in media?
Okay. So I was a news reporter for WFTV, Channel 9 in Orlando.
I love it.
And I was a radio announcer, and I did, all of those kinds of things. It was fun.
Yeah.
It was absolutely fun. What was most fun is when I was walking down the street and people would come up to me and say, "Oh, you're Michael Chambers." That was my stage name. And
Why Chambers?
well, because Michael Glavich just doesn't sing.
Ah.
It's got to be something that sings. So,
Mm.
and they told me, they said, no, Michael, you have to be something else. I went, all right, so what do you want me to be? And they said, pick something. So I went, Chambers. I'm Michael Chambers. Okay, fine.
MC.
It was
I
it
like
was
it.
fun. It was fun. It was it got me inside of a lot of different situations. Everything from watching people pull cars off of people in terrible accidents to getting in front of the Secretary of State and doing interviews with them. So that was a wide range of experiences in the news world.
So cool. So
Yes.
cool. And it's amazing because like we were just talking about communication, how it's so important and it's an art. And to be able to express yourself, especially when you have so much excitement, you're somebody who likes to explore new horizons and, like you said, live completely on the edge. And when you are able to express it and communicate it and share your thoughts and really raise people around you, I think that's a true gift with a huge responsibility. So this brings us now the two things I wanted to touch upon because time's fleeting. um, Blockchain Research Institute right here in Toronto,
Yes.
and then we'll get to AI 2030.
Okay. Don Tapscott is one of the most brilliant people I've ever worked with. He's, other than the fact that he's done what 10 global bestsellers. I've been thrilled and humbled to work with him. It's been interesting. It's been an interesting ride. Like, worked off with him on and off as he has created companies after companies. And he is the latest project that he brought me into was the Neom project, one of the first major smart cities in the world. And I think with the company that you work with and that you lead is a part of that with Digital Twin, which is also an extraordinary technology. Which
Absolutely, yeah, Michael. So he tickled it. I didn't know I didn't know if we were gonna go there, but yes, absolutely. We are the digital twin provider in Neom right now, and we're so excited and happy about that. And it's awesome because when Michael and I spoke, I got to show him some of the work we were doing, and
some
it
stuff.
it,
Awesome.
it 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 means a lot for coming from someone who understands technology and the trajectory of where AI needs to go to give me the feedback on that. And what were your thoughts, Michael, when you saw the digital twin that we created?
Well, first of all, it's extraordinary technology. You guys are at the cutting edge of it, which is very powerful. Um, the what I call cognitive infrastructures, what everybody calls smart cities, is the next evolution of technologies. Right now, responsible AI is the media darling, but the next evolution will be taking all of the different technologies that we've been talking about earlier, and those technologies are going to create this cognitive infrastructure that makes all kinds of things happening where human beings will be in the core of it. And what we're going to see is a radical and very quick change in all kinds of different things. And digital twins is the core piece of that, because you take the digital twin, you take a map of what it is that you're trying to create, and then you port that into the physical structure. You go back and forth, and that way you can very rapidly make things better, faster, cheaper. And you guys are right in the heart of that, and that's a very powerful place to be.
Well, Michael, thank you for explaining what my t-shirt is asking. What is a
I
digital
want one of
twin?
those. I want one of those.
Michael, okay, guys, Addy, you heard that. We have to send one to Chicago. Absolutely, Michael. We'd be happy to. Now, this is a big question. This is something that, why AI 2030? What is it about? What's the purpose? What's your vision? And bringing machine learning, analytics, data, OpenAI, ChatGPT, and governance all together. What are we looking at? You're the head of growth at AI 2030. That's what I want to know.
So everyone knows what AI is. Everyone has an understanding of the crucial new capable technology that it is, and all the different elements that it's doing. But the idea is that there's so many things that you can do with AI, that the responsible and ethical parts of those are going to be critical. And when I say critical, I mean, if we do this wrong, we're going to run into some extraordinarily bad problems about how AI becomes dysfunctional in certain ways, and will just continue being dysfunctional until somebody turns it off, stops it, and all of that grinding halt will be a problem. So I was brought in by Xiaochen Zhang. He's the former head of AWS Global Innovation. Another brilliant person. I don't know how I find these brilliant people. I would love to think that I attract them. I don't think that's what happens. I think I just find them, or I trip into them or something like that, and they go, "Oh, hey, you come over here."
A humble way to look at it, but listen, it's the energy you're putting into the universe that's bringing all of this together.
I'm hoping it's something like that. But so being the head of growth, but what my job is to go talk to the big corporations, the Accentures of the world, the Microsofts of the world, those kinds of folks, and begin talking to them about what are they doing in the responsible AI element. And a lot of them are trying to do all kinds of things, but they're corporations, and what they're focused on is funding and new products and new services. And the fact that there is a responsible AI element that must happen, that must be a co-conspirator in everything that people do with AI, that they're paying a lot of attention to it, but that's not where the money is. So what we're doing is we're adding those elements to them and being consultants with them, advisors with them, to say, okay, these are some of the pieces that you really need to be into looking at. And I won't get into those because they get into some deep technologies, but it's that kind of thinking, that when we come up with a new technology, that we have to be looking at, this is what it's for, this is what it's good at, but here are the elements that we really need to be on top of, because these technologies are becoming really intelligent, and we have to make sure that we guide them so that they're doing the right things.
Are there, Michael, specific industries or nations you believe that are actually leading the charge in this?
There's no question that the United States is the very forefront of this technology. Companies, like I've said, like Accenture, like AWS, like Microsoft, like SAP, those kinds of organizations are doing some really interesting things with both AI and with responsible AI. So we applaud them, and we want to work with them and you want to do things with them. Um, when I look at some of the other countries, there's China is very adept at the things that they're doing. Uh, some parts of Europe are moving very nicely in those directions as well. But I think the United States is in the forefront with AI at this point in time.
Now, myself being an entrepreneur in the digital twin space for cognitive infrastructure, as you would term it, you saw what we did with the town of Aurora. We built a digital twin for the city, and it's front facing, so it doesn't have to be as detailed as showing the pipes underground or anything like that. But it allows citizens to engage with their city by seeing all of the data in one place, meaning like where can they go vote, where are the accessible parking lots, the washrooms, what's the current air quality for the people that want to go to the trails or play golf and stuff like that. All of that's on one platform. United
Yes.
States being a leader in the AI space and hopefully in cognitive infrastructure, where do you see, whether it's our airports, our seaports, our dams, our hospitals, our schools, uh, where do you see an opening happening for digital twins in that space in the United States?
I think anywhere that big organizations or big structures. Think in terms of cities. Okay, so cities are these massive growths with all kinds of services. So there's garbage services, there's electronic services, there's traffic services, there's city types of all kinds of different things that are services, and AI will have pieces of all of those things. In order to make that work, in order for people to do this in a way that makes it faster, better, cheaper, they have to have a way of mapping it out, and that mapping it out is what digital twins is all about. You map out in that sort of arena all the different things that you should be on top of. What are the things that can happen? What are the things that you want to put into place that those things don't happen in the wrong sort of way, and you map that to the physical entity that is there. So what inspires me about digital twins and the massive areas of all these different networks and all these cities is that we can make things happen very quickly. We can create them in a way that they work right away, that you don't put it out into the world and all of a sudden you go, oh my God, the traffic lights don't work and people are running into each other. Well, yes, that can happen really, really, really quickly. Or you turn on the wrong system, and all of a sudden you're flooding the river into the city, and that's a bad thing. So you create with digital twins the ability to map out what it is that you want to do in such a way so that when you put it into the physical world, it works exactly the way you wanted it to work because you created it in a digital sort of way, and now you have it in the physical way. And I don't think that was ever available prior to what digital twins is capable of doing now, and that's going to make a huge difference in this world.
This kind of reminds me of when back in the day, like we used to see commercials on TV for an ad where they used to have crash test dummies and they'd put them in the car and they'd
Yes,
slam it into a wall.
yes.
Is that one of the reasons why we don't see that anymore? Because everything's gone digital, the testing and all of that?
You don't have to put a dummy into a car anymore. You
Yeah,
just create a digital twin of a human being, and you say this is how a person needs to be sitting in that car. These are the different things that need to happen to make them safe, and that you transfer that into the physical world, and all of a sudden you have a car that is smart, is capable of doing things, and it has a structure in it that was built to make sure that nothing bad happens for that human being, and that the car
absolutely.
functions exactly the way you want it to.
And you reduce your carbon footprint as well, and
Absolutely.
you get your data faster as well as a manufacturer. Now,
We
before,
haven't talked about sustainability at all,
yeah,
but
yeah,
responsible AI is going to be huge in the sustainability world because they're going to start mapping out all the carbon emissions and all of those types of things, and say, from a digital viewpoint, this is what's going to happen. So if we transfer that into the physical world, then we can start lowering emissions in all kinds of different ways, in ways that we hadn't even thought of before,
absolutely.
because the AI will pick those things out.
It's just like if there's an anomaly in a manufacturing plant, AI or the camera picks that up. Same thing with carbon emissions. If there's a section of the city where there's excessive pollution, or it can actually simulate that, it seems like based on the temperature and the humidity and the amount of vehicles, for example, this area will have a lot of smog. So this allows the cities and allows government to be proactive rather than reactive. In terms of sustainability, when it
Yes.
comes to cities here in North America, do you believe that there could be a lot more that could be done? And where is a good starting place? Because when cities sometimes, when we meet with them, they're like, oh, we want to focus on sustainability. Okay, what would Michael say that you need to start with? Where should they start?
I would start with sustainability data and services. Sustainability for the carbon emissions and the waste controls and those kinds of things.
Mhm.
Data for really getting an understanding of what the people are doing and how they're doing it and what kind of healthcare do they need, what kind of services do they need, and those kinds of things. And the services, all of these services that exist, everything from healthcare to the tickets that you get and the documents that you need to have and the legal things that you need to have to be a citizen and go do the things that you want to do. All of those things will have an AI overlay to them, and they'll have a responsible AI overlay to them, which allows things to be able to understand from a more humane sort of way of the kinds of things that will have an actual impact on humanity. And I think that's going to be things that begin to 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 almost shock us in that, oh, I didn't even think about that. There's something that I can begin looking at because the data is there and people want to do this and they would desire to have this sort of capability. The AI and the responsible AI structures on top of the data, on tops of the technologies, all of those things are going to make this. That's what's going to make the cognitive infrastructure really change the world.
Absolutely. Because sometimes, especially in cities, they're like, okay, do citizens want a park here? Do they need a park here? But with AI, we will be able to do, you know, site selection and land optimization in a much, much more
Sure.
human-centric way. And it's funny, the irony is you're using a lot of artificial intelligence for it, but for lack of a better term, cities haven't been able to engage with citizens at that level, and this is probably a good way to now start being showing them all of the information and the data of the city in one place, and being like, okay, let's have a conversation on how we want to shape the future of our city. Let's start talking about that, and then using AI for smarter infrastructure deployment and management. I feel like since we have very little time left, let's have some fun now. I'm gonna try
We're
something new.
having
Okay,
fun now.
Michael? Yeah.
I've been
No,
having fun since we started.
no. No, because I was thinking, I'm like, what can I ask Michael that'll really, really, when you do come to Toronto, which is very soon, you told me you're gonna come see us at our office, and we're waiting for you. We'll have the red carpet down for you. Um, My question for you is, what is your favorite country that you've ever traveled to?
Oh, wow. Okinawa. Okinawa was my favorite country because I was a fairly young boy, and there was big battles. The big Japanese and American battles were there, and all of the bunkers and all of the beaches and all those kinds of things. The Okinawans left all those things intact as monuments. And so people could come and they could see what actually happened and why it happened and where it went. And you could actually, it was almost like you were there. You wouldn't really have wanted to be there, because it was a war. But
Wow.
they left it intact so that people could understand what actually happened, and how people lived and where it was. And I actually got to really understand what was going on in that country, and it had a very profound effect on me that I
Wow.
was able to experience that.
Yeah. So you got to see it like as if like it was like it was like a museum, a living museum.
It's a living museum. And it wasn't just monuments that they built. It was actually the bunkers that were
Yeah.
there with the bullet holes and all of it. And I was a boy, so war was like cool. It was because I hadn't been in a war. If I'd been in a war, I would have thought it was cool. But but to see all those things and to experience all of it. And the Okinawan people were just wonderful people. They just, they loved us
That's
because
awesome.
we employed them. Their world was better. Everything was better for them when the U.S. moved in there.
Yeah.
And now they're just a big powerhouse organization that does country that does all kinds of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Very advanced society indeed. Um, Future city that you'd love to visit in the world? Future.
I'd like to go see when Neom gets up to a certain level. I'd like to go see Neom because in my mind, that was the first really powerful one. There's probably 12 or 14 more. There's Shanghai and Japan, and I'm working on one where they're doing some work on Vietnam now, and India, and London is looking at them. I am pitching really hard to the Chicago government that they should start thinking in terms of a cognitive infrastructures. Just starts in certain areas. You don't need to build the entire city. Just build pieces at a time. And when you do that, you begin to network those pieces and create this infrastructure. And then you can connect all the pieces together. You overlay it with data, and all of a sudden you have something that is really powerful. And it turns government into not something where we're regulating everything, but they're really starting to use data to help people get to where they want to go and to do what they want to do and to have better lives. I
Absolutely.
think that's the purpose of this technology.
Enhance human lives. Absolutely. That's the ultimate goal with all of this. And I know we're much over time, but last question I wanted to ask you was what are you most hopeful about for the next generation?
Oh, for the next generation, I want them to have better lives. Right now they're sort of coasting. I mean, they're working really hard. They're not making a lot of money. They're having a lot of experiences in and of themselves. But I'd like to have them have a better understanding of the world as it evolved and what it can be. And I think the new technologies can make that very clear and very obvious that, okay, here's where you were and here's all the things that happened. But now what we can do is we can take a different look at the world, and we can take a different position on the types of things that people fight about and argue about and things like that. It isn't necessary to do those things. We can use the technologies to make it so that people are better, more satisfied, happier, better lives, those kinds of things. And that's what I would like to see for them.
Absolutely. And with that, I want to say thank you so much, Michael. It was the fastest 30 minutes, but I learned so much, and I can't thank you enough for sharing your career, your insights, your hope for the future, and I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. So thank you so much.
I appreciate it. I think you're an extraordinary CEO.
Thank you, sir. That really means a lot to me. And guys, please feel free to reach out to Michael. His information will be with this with under the Twin Talk information. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to share your questions. And we look forward to seeing you at the next Twin Talk. Until then, take care. Ciao.
Bye bye.